Hi Peabody friends. Today we're going to do a more challenging project. It's a Quilled flower tea light candle. This is a really cool skill to learn. So what we're going to do is make one flower petal here, and then we'll repeat this 6 more times to make all the petals that will go onto this flower. So I'm going to lay the yellow over here, and I'm going to take my green and purple and glue them together. So the first step is to take those two colors, color A and B, and you want to get just a little dab of glue on your toothpick. You do not want a lot, just a tiny little, I don't know if we can focus in on that, just a little dab. And we're going to put it just on the end of here, and we're going to spread it really thin. And I'm just going to lay it over here. And I'm going to take this strip. Now you notice that's what, maybe 1/4 of an inch. You don't need a whole lot of overlap here. And I'm going to press these together, keep them as straight as possible. The glue dries really quickly. You want to take your strip and stick it down through the middle point of the comb. Notice I went through the side. Stick it through kind of far because you're going to need some room to move. And you're going to want to come back up through your tine. Now, what you want to do is pull this taut. So this is where you want to be with your first step. You want to have it coming up through and then just have this little tip here. Now hold that tip and take this end of your strip and come out to the side and stick it under that tooth, so that you get a little loop here. Then you're going to want to take it back up under the next one, so that this is where it looks like. Now at this point, this is your starting point. This is the very end of your flower petal. You want to glue that with just a little touch of glue. So take your toothpick while you hold this down with one hand and get just a little dab of glue. Just a tiny little thin coat, just enough to get it wet. You don't want it globby at all because then it's going to squish out the sides and you'll see it all over the edges of your flower petal. A little bit goes a long way. Now take your tip of your strip and glue it down on top of that loop. But you don't want to overlap the tooth of the comb. We're then going to do another little bit of glue. We're going to apply just a little bit of glue right here at the top. Just take it gently across, just a little bit. And then we're going to take this strip and weave it through the side, just like before. Now you want to do the same tooth that this loop is coming out of. You want to overlap it because you're going to glue it right down on top of it. So pull it through and then press it down. You want to make sure that you're lining it up on the sides as you go. You're going to want to pay attention to that the whole time you're doing this. And now begins the process of just weaving back and forth. So you take it up through the next one, pull it taut, so it's like this, and then we're going to take it back through the other side. Now I tend to turn my comb around each time. It's just easier for me to work with that way. And then each time you weave it down, add a little bit of glue across the top, just like this, like you did before, just a touch. Just take it through because you're going to glue it right down onto that paper. Pull it taut, push it down. Remember, when you bring it back through, come through the side, you want to see a tooth from your comb. And then simply turn it around. Add your dab of glue. Looks like I got a little bit too much here. That's when I would take my finger and just touch it and wipe it off on this paper here. I am to the end of my strip, and I've got this little bit left over. So what we're going to do is, however much you have left over, you want to be sure that it's glued to the back. I would call this the back, and this the front. So now what we're going to do is slide this thing off the comb. So I have placed my fingers here, and I flipped it over and just kind of scooch it down. It's glued together as one unit, so you should be okay. Lay your comb down, check it out. We're going to take this thing and bend it in half. You want to squish these down and apart just a little bit. We can reform them with a toothpick after we bend this thing. If you don't have a thumbnail to use, you can use a toothpick to get it started this way. Basically what you want to do is just make sure that you are in the middle, right here where your bend is at. And you want to bend this whole thing in half like this. And then we want our loops to kind of go in this direction, so I just kind of gently smooth them this way. And then we're going to take just a little bit of glue, continuing to use our technique of just a touch. You don't want to see any glob of glue, just a tiny, tiny thin layer. We're going to take our color C and glue it to the edge, like so. Oops. Hold it in place for just a second. And then we're just going to wrap it around. And then when you get to the end, just add your glue, like so. And glue it down. I'm going to take one of my clean toothpicks now and go through and stick it in each one of these little holes at the end and just give it a little twist to kind of open these back up since we squished them down when we put it together. You'll notice these are really going to be squished down at the end. This really opens it back up and gives it a really nice look. So now what we're going to do is find our strip that we had the single color of, and take one of your clean toothpicks and treat it like you would a Christmas ribbon with a pair of scissors, where you just kind of curl it up a little bit to get it ready for twisting. And then we're going to take the tip of the end here and just wrap it around the toothpick. Let it go and let it loosen up. You can kind of roll it around a little bit, loosen it up with your fingers. And then I'm just going to open the end just a little bit, enough to get a little bit of glue on here, and then just seal it down. I'm going to hold that in place for just a second, let that glue hold. And then we're going to take all of our petals Continuing in the same fashion of just a tiny little bit of glue. We're going to stick them to the center. You should have 3 glue dots in your kit. Take off the outer plastic layer. Looks like 2 of them stuck to the plastic and 1 to the paper. We're going to take all 3 of these and stack them one on top of the other. Take your glue dots and fold them. And that's going to create this nice chunky little bit of adhesive. Stick it to the back of the flower, and then you've got a nice smooth circle on one side of your jar, oval. Stick it right to it. Now, this is a battery operated tea light, so you just turn it on like so, and it turns on. So, stick that somewhere in your house. It'll be really pretty.